Oh, you guys, you threw me for a loop with this one, not gonna lie. That was
Join the club.
that was a ride.
Join the damn club.
Yeah, there's no preparing people for this one. Hi, friends,
Howdy, y'all.
Hello, beautiful people.
and welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Fat Culture Critics videos on YouTube.
I'm Josh Gosdin, and I'm a big old nerd.
And with us today is Finn.
I almost jumped in on you. Hello, yes, I'm Finn. And I run the YouTube channel Swolesome.
Hi, Finn.
Hi, Finn.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Can't remember. Are you someone who's watched Farscape before, or did we just totally...
So only the Farscape you guys have given me. Only the Farscape I have been directed toward by this podcast.
Oh, boy.
Well, I thought it'd be fun to bring someone in who has experience with like circus tricks and stuff. There's not much that you can like bring real world things into with this one, but I thought you'd have fun with the fire juggling and stuff.
Yes, that is actually that is the flow art that I do.
Cool.
Boy,
No kidding.
specifically. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you also knock people unconscious with it when you do it?
Not so much. Mostly
fair
because like I prefer to kind of, like knock their socks off is more my approach. And that you would
Gotcha.
achieve with rather than a backbend like double crossover, you would use a backbend buzzsaw instead. But that's an aesthetic choice.
I completely go along with everything that you're saying right now.
That's a correct.
Scratch and Sniff was written by Lily Taylor and directed by Tony Tilsey. So, Pilot, I know that you said that we needed to get gone for 10 days and that we're back after 2, but there is a really good reason, says John. It all started at the bar when John and Dargo got separated from Chiana and Jewel. The boys picked up some very colorful feathered women and woke up the next morning penniless, pantsless, and nursing a monster of a hangover. This is when they meet Rexel, a small Cockney alien who saw the whole thing and knows what happened to the girls. But Rexel has heard of the show don't tell rule, so she introduces us to Kaba the Hanji, a mantisy man with detachable eyes who records all he sees. Just look in his tentacles and enter his private holodeck. Reviewing last night, Kaba shows Chiana and Jewel having a grand old time until they meet a suspicious, creepy dude, Fator, who gives them something to smell. This is when Kaba pulls the plug. Fator is a big deal and he's not going to cross him. Dargo storms off to Fator's place where he finds the girls in a druggy bliss. He tries to drag them out anyway, but runs up against Fator's armed goons. It appears that Rexel was less than truthful about the situation with Fator's guards. A frustrated Dargo gets into Rexel's face only to get sprayed with a disco Mickey that makes him happy and dancing. While Dargo gets his boogie on, Rexel gives John the exposition. This planet has a drug called Freslin. It's made from milking glands from sentient beings. Fator is the Freslin kingpin, and in flashbacks we see he's milking Jewel and planning to auction Chiana. Rexel is interested because Fator also has her mate, and she wants to get him back when John and Dargo free the girls. It's heist planning time, and they've got Kaba's magic eye holodeck space to do the planning, which means that Harvey can get in on it. The plan. John will pose as a buyer, and if that doesn't work, he will shoot out the lights. Dargo will break into the milking room and free Jewel. But this plan isn't enough for Rexel. She thought they'd do more. They are, after all, the great Crichton and Dargo. She wouldn't have arranged all this if she thought that's all they would do. It would seem that Rexel has been less than truthful about the Fator situation. The boys are pissed. So naturally Rexel Mickey's Dargo again. This time the Freslin changes his appearance, at least temporarily. It'll wear off when he metabolizes it. Well, we're here, so let's do the heist. At the auction, we learn that Rexel has a history as a Freslin supplier. It seems she's been less than truthful about her past. Dargo is pissed, and that, among other things, is making him metabolize his disguise faster. Despite this, the heist goes off a about as well as these things do for our crew, and everyone does make it to the milking room where the girls are freed. But Rexel's mate is dead, although she doesn't seem to care. In a stunning turn of events, she has been less than truthful about her motivation. She just wanted to get back some stolen designs for Freslin making. But whatever, the heist is basically finished, except here comes Fator. He attacks John, but now it's Chiana's turn to Mickey someone, and she is mad. She throws all the Freslin in Fator's face, and then pours what's left down his mouth. He is never getting up. And that pilot is why we're back so early from leave. But Pilot doesn't believe John is being fully truthful. And anyway, it doesn't matter. Moya and Pilot still need a break from the bickering boys. So, next planet, no excuses, take a break. Thoughts?
Ben?
I mean, I went through such a roller coaster with Rexel specifically, I am saying I'm going to definitely forget everyone's names, but that is the little Cockney drug pusher. Yeah, okay. On the what, like I went through this weird journey with this character of like, oh, you're lying. Oh, you're lying again. Oh, you're lying again. And at that point, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, like we were suspicious, and then like it's confirmed that you're lying, and it's like, okay, well now redemption arc, and it's like, oh no, you're just lying again. Like you just got worse. And then again at the end, it's just like, oh, and also still lying and still bad. And at that point, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm all in. I support her. I think she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly who she is. I'm behind it. Like she's so unapologetically shitty and dishonest that I'm like, cool, go for it, girl, get yours. So that was like my big takeaway.
She girl boss gaslit gatekeeped her way right through the episode.
She does not give a shit. She just she did her the whole time, and I was like, you know what? I respect it. I have to.
So Josh, we have another small female character with a fun voice. Did you recognize who this was?
I did not. No, I really enjoyed the accent though and the makeup.
This is the third appearance as a new character of Francesca Buller,
Ben Browder's wife.
Ben Browder's wife. Yeah, we got Emily, the bone-eating moopsy creature. Then we had then we had, what was her name? The servant on the princess planet.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have now we have Rexel, the, I don't know what we
she's like a Cockney pit pocket from Les Mis who landed in space.
She is.
So this actor is the Jeffrey Combs of Farscape, is what I'm getting.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay.
All right.
I mean, if your husband has had a gig and you were in Australia because of it, you might as well audition for roles.
That's true.
Just keep auditioning.
Yeah, they're just like, we need a funny little girl. We instead of the funny little guy, we need a funny little girl with an accent. Francesca.
She did that accent really well. So this episode, man, wow, this was an episode. I think we've hit upon a rare phenomenon for me, particularly of just running across an episode that I just flat out didn't like.
Oh,
and I'm bummed too. I'm bummed too because this episode has a lot of like pieces that I feel like I probably would have liked, or I did, or I even wanted to enjoy. I mean, we've got the return of a Jim Henson puppet creature as an alien, which I've been begging for episodes, and this was a really great puppet. We've got a buddy cop, plot with Dargo and John, complete with 80s Axel F Lethal Weapon soundtrack going on in the background. That again, I probably would have really enjoyed. Chiana was the one to deliver the killing blow to the bad guy, and I love it when Chiana gets to be badass and stuff like that. But I just did not enjoy the buddy cop comedy approach to sex trafficking and forced prostitution and date rape. It was an unpleasant experience for me specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is.
Yeah.
It is a weird way to treat the subject matter. I still, I still find I enjoy it. That it's such a fucked up, weird thing that only Farscape could do. I enjoy a lot of it. There are parts where I'm just like, wait, this is what we're laughing about.
Right.
So yeah, it's a weird experience because I enjoy the hijinks and I enjoy the John telling the story to a very passive aggressive pilot, and you know I love passive aggressive pilot.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Every so often it's like, wait, this is what we're laughing about.
And if it had stuck with, who knows? Maybe if it had stuck with the buddy cop comedy approach to the whole thing, I would have been able to stick with the episode. But at about the halfway or 2/3 mark, it started to forget that it was trying to be funny. And every time we cut back to Chiana and Jewel, it was just getting more and more horrifying. But with the Axel F soundtrack in the background still going, that to me sounded like the episode was still trying to be something more satirical or farcical or comedic. So it was jarring as well, and it kind of like skidded into the landing there at the end of the episode.
kind of hit me on the same level as, like, weirdly enough, Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. Just in that it's like there's a tone issue here that is like not working for me. It's like I see the one thing you're doing and it's like, cool, you should do that, but oh no, you're doing this other thing as well. And it's like, are we going with like Catholic existential guilt and violence, or are we going with haha, the gargoyles come to life? Like, can we pick one of these things? This is a little bit much. And yeah, I definitely got that. It's like, you can't serious sex trafficking buddy cop haha. That's a lot. That's too many things.
Exactly.
I think I'm less bothered than I would have been if this had been written by a guy. And I know maybe that seems odd, but it's just like, I don't know why that is, but it feels less exploitative than it could be. Yeah.
It definitely, thankfully I wasn't getting like objectification very much from Chiana and Jewel, other than their kind of usual like baseline sexual empowerment that both of the characters have just as a part of their baked in DNA and stuff like that. And I mean, if anything, we got more objectification with Dargo and John, especially John with those fishnets. But like, yeah, no, this episode just missed for me. I wasn't having a good time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't like not liking the show. I like this show, and so I like liking the show. So I'm in an odd position with us tonight, audience, and I don't know if you are as well, but here we are.
It is a weird fever dream of an episode. That bit with the fishnets, I love it, and at the same time, I'm like, are they doing no homo? Because Farscape doesn't usually do that. But
they're doing no homo after both John and Dargo also got date raped, so we got that going for us.
Yeah, well, no, they just got rolled.
We don't seem to know that for sure based on the text in the episode.
No, they do. John is like, did we? And Dargo's like, no. So
yeah, he was also waking up from being drugged though. That's an unreliable source in the text to me.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those things that is a fair criticism, especially given like the whole overarching theme of the episode and the mood of the episode. Like there was that weird, just to get back to what Sara was saying about, kind of the fact that it hits on a different level in a weird way. The fact that a man didn't write it doesn't, the show is horny in general. It is.
Gladly.
But this episode, oddly enough, didn't read overtly sexual for me in a very strange way. Like, I think it had some pretty overt sexual themes, but there was this, like, the objectification of Jewel and Chiana seemed to be very much about their vitality. Like, the fact that it wasn't like, oh, they're sexy dancing and that's what made him notice. It's like, no, one of them did, like, a whole ass gymnastics routine on the dance floor and the other one was spitting fire. It was like, oh, these people are badass and we want their badassery. And that was really interesting. Like, there were, of course, when they're partying, they're drugged out and all of that stuff, there were sexual elements that came into it, but it seemed to be more about, I don't know, their liveliness, their capacity for physical exploits seemed to be what was very interesting. And I had some point tying this into how the boys were handled when they woke up from being drugged, and it's gone from my brain. But let's pretend I made a really good point.
Damn, Finn, that was a really good point.
Yeah.
I'm here to support you.
There is so
much
much people getting drugged without their consent.
Yes.
And yeah, it is just such a weird episode. There are so many, there are delightful moments, and I'm delighted by Francesca's crazy Rexel thing and the mantis.
Again, was cool.
Yeah. And Ben Browder is just having so much fun with the silliness with the fishnets. That it's like there's a weird mix of delightful and don't think about it because what the fuck.
With
the
original fishnets, I wish. Sorry, go on.
The original idea was going for something like noir detective.
Okay.
But then they went in a different direction.
I could see that maybe working better because it might treat the subject matter a little bit more gritty, more grounded, maybe.
It would also work with that kind of like the editing of we're here and then we're here and then we're back and then like the kind of bouncing back and forth. That's not really a buddy cop thing. That's definitely more like detective noir kind of approach that like, yeah. And then I said to her that like when we get that sort of moments taken out of the past, would have made a lot more sense. And I think with the fishnets, I just wish they had him like lean into it. Instead of just like, oh, screech and ditch. It's like, the quads looked amazing. He was killing it. Like it was a look, but my partner watched it with me and he was also like, what is this episode? But when they zoomed out and they showed the fishnets, both of us were like, slay. Like that's, yeah, it's a look. And I wish he'd like turned to the side and been like, yeah, like just sold it a little bit, but I'm a gay, so yeah, exactly.
Or like come back and he's still wearing them later in the episode.
Yeah,
that would have been good.
Or and like, how did he get into them? Because that's not a thing.
Were one of the feather ladies? Were one of them wearing fishnets?
This is what I'm saying.
It's a question of the day.
Yeah, it is. There's a certain aesthetic on this planet that everybody seems to be wearing fetish gear in some way or another. So,
oh my god, the bondage masks.
Yeah, even the second in command was like who looks very like
mesh.
he looks like your everyday business guy, but he's wearing mesh and like I think they were shopping at the sex shop again because I know that they definitely bought Scorpius's outfit from the fetish gear store. So I think maybe they went back and bought the rest of the store because even like the milking chair.
It was it kind of had a little bit of like
I won't go too far down this very obvious path, and I'm sorry, but even just the phrase "the milking room," I was like, okay, all right. I guess that's what we're calling it with a straight face.
Somebody in the writer's room just had a checklist of kinks and fetishes and was like, ooh, this will be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird episode. There's so many bits because like we've got Fatur talking about women as animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a thing.
That happened, yes.
Yes.
It really did. And I feel like some of the more problematic elements of, and it's not to say like trafficking's okay when it's gender balanced, like, but if there had been like male victims, for example, or just like, but the fact that it was uniquely women added that like sort of element of misogyny and objectification and dehumanization of women in particular that was a little bit, and I know that like, he's this like gross exploitative bad guy. That's kind of the point. But I think that the treating that particular angle a bit with a little too much levity could have been mediated a little bit by having like not just women targeted by this guy.
Well, there was Rexel's ex.
True.
Fabio, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
But he's just kind of lying in the corner there. There's not anything really done.
Yeah. I feel the need to like make up for the fact that I didn't like this episode. For my money, and I so seldom use or try to use like objective language when I'm describing art, but this wasn't a bad episode in my opinion. It was very well constructed. It was very well paced. It was very well written, very well acted. Production designs were fantastic. Like the story made sense throughout. The unreliable narrator is a fun device. Like it was a well-made episode. I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Illegal. How dare you?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are some writing flaws as well. The sort of what are we, it scene to scene, the writing's very good, but when you zoom out, it's a bit like, okay, what are we you're doing? This is Lily Taylor's second script only. She's a script supervisor usually. The last one she wrote for was Clockwork Nabari, which we really liked.
Yeah, that one was so good.
Yeah. Also weird as fuck.
I was going to say similar themes. We need to talk to Lily.
And yeah, but this one kind of and then fabulous direction as always, because I love Tony Tolkien's direction, and having a whale of a time with the silly, goofy stuff. But yeah, it is. I enjoy it as a weird Farscapian roller coaster, but also like there's, but also I totally hear what you're saying. There is a lot of I don't want to think about that. That's icky. This episode also, trivia thing, had to be moved. Well, when it was aired in the UK, it had to be moved till after 9 because of all the drug stuff.
Oh, the drugs were what bothered everybody.
Yes.
That would would not have been my first guess. But,
no, I mean,
go off, England, I guess.
Sure, way to go. We nailed it there, UK.
Yes. Well, there is a lot of people being subjected to drugs against their consent, but that's not the only thing that's being done against people's consent. They're being held against their consent, and they're being referred to as animals. It's a whole thing.
Also, I feel like it's easier to get placed after the watershed if you have overt sexual themes.
Well, yeah, but Farscape always has overt sexual themes.
Yeah.
I think I like the John and Dargo stuff because things have been coming to a head with those two.
Mm-hmm.
It's understandable that Pilot is sick to the back teeth of them fighting. And we know we've been the episodes on Moya have been kind of lagging. They've been floundering to try and have something of a arc for them for some of these last episodes. And Yeah, and the the bromance has been fraying. So I think I like this episode for the sort of bromancy-ness of it, that they're bickering and also needing each other. Um, yeah, but Dargo does go through it.
As usual.
I don't like that he was drugged without his consent twice, 3 times, if we include Feather Ladies. That happened. No wonder they felt like crap when they got back on the ship. Like that's a lot. But it was fun seeing him have fun, even if it was like fun that he was not wanting to have, I guess. When he was like kind of tearing it up on the dance floor, it's like, yeah, I love that for him. Don't love how he got there, but like, this is nice. This is nice. He seemed like he needed to let loose a little bit.
Well, and Anthony Simcoe is he has excellent comedic timing for a series of characters Dargo can be. And so like watching him, disco across the camera like Jaws was like got me to cackle a little bit.
Yeah. Yes. If you're going, if a person, no, there's no if you're going to be drugged against your will. There's no it's better to be dancing.
So
I think the only
after you.
No. I was just going to say, I think the only ethical example that I can think of, it actually has happened to me, where I ate a brownie that I thought was just a brownie. It was not just a brownie. And the options were, dance and have fun and lean into it, or don't have a good time at all, have quite the opposite of a good time. So like there are, I guess, you know what? I don't know why I'm trying to prove that accidental drugging can be fun. I don't know why this is the hill I'm dying on. I'm just gonna back off of this one.
That's where this episode has brought us. This episode has brought us low. Was Clockwork Nabari the one where they pulled out the eyeball? Okay, we got to talk to Lily. I'm not sure she's all right. Because also in this episode again we have kind of like I mean, it was giving mind control a little bit, and then we also have eye horror again. And Chiana again gets to be central and gets to be the hero at the end of the story. But yeah, this is a weird sort of niche that a writer has carved out for herself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Sara. I feel so bad for not liking this episode, Sara, because I know how much you love Farscape and you love Dargo and
yeah, but I mean, you're right. I mean, I enjoy this episode despite everything, but I am fully aware of the everything. And it's just kind of difficult. Even if we liked it, it would be difficult to talk about this one.
Yeah.
Because it's just it is just a very what the fuck. Yeah, and now I'm thinking of an experience of seeing someone get accidentally drugged. That ended up in the ER. So
listen,
there's just
I work at a college.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that anybody out there needs us to point out that drugging people against their consent is, and especially without their full understanding of what's happening.
Informed consent.
Just don't. Yeah, just don't. It doesn't end up with Francesca Buller character hijinks. It just ends up usually badly.
That's a takeaway from this episode. Don't non-consensually drug people. That's I would say that even if you didn't enjoy it, it's a good lesson. That's a good takeaway. Like lives were improved by this message. Success.
So just let me.
I have no idea how I'm going to edit this chaos.
I'm so
sorry. I'm so sorry. I should stay on task.
Let me just say, for all of the for all the young people out there, kiddos, don't non-consensually drug people. Don't, attempt to, don't have a room called the milking room, just flatly. Yeah. And now I'm going back to space and turning my chair back around.
Also, don't smell things that someone puts in front of you. It's just not.
Sure. While we're learning lessons.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to have more of Chiana and Jules' experience in this. We get sort of a detached, weird sort of perspective on what's happening with them, but we don't really get it from their perspective.
If you go out to a bar or go clubbing, don't leave your money on the damn table.
Also good advice. I feel bad because I also didn't really vibe with this episode. I didn't super love it.
You and me, buddy.
Yeah. It's just there's things about it that it's one of those things that, as a not professional who has never made any kind of, I was about to say never made media, I guess I make YouTube videos, but as someone who has never made like a serial thing, like I've never made an episode, I've never written a movie, I've never done anything like that. I don't want to be that asshole who's just like, here's what I would have done as a layperson who's just a professional now. But here's what I would have done as a layperson who's a professional now is, if you're taking the kind of like buddy cop approach and you're exploring the character dynamics, having the boys in their experience and what you were just saying, then having kind of what the women were experiencing as well, and moving back and forth between those two things and having the story put together, rather than just having John fill pilot in. If you had Chiana or Jewel or all of them kind of like having an argument with each other about like, no, then this happened, and it would like jump back and forth to like different perspectives, I think that would have like it would have dealt with some of the problems of the episode. It would have been a little bit less, I guess, objectifying and exploitative in a theme that is inherently objectifying and exploitative. It would have emphasized how bad it is that was happening to them, because it wouldn't have been as in the writing itself and more, this is something that the bad guy is doing. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I think when I think about buddy cop genre, I think the ones that pop into my head right away are the first Beverly Hills Cop. I think about the first Lethal Weapon. I think about the first Rush Hour. I guess you can all tell my film taste at this point. But what makes each one of those films action comedies is not them pointing to the drug dealing and saying, isn't drug dealing hilarious? It's the things that the characters do in response to the situations that they're placed in, and laying aside the fun 80s racism in most of those films, and laying aside the Mel Gibsonness, like in each one of those films, it's still a serious threat that is treated seriously, in and around the Eddie Murphy of it all, or the whole Rush Hour of this, but it's not the subject material that's treated comedically. It's the way that the characters interact with that kind of a world that creates the comedy. And so in this episode, where we do have a buddy cop format, but where the episode is treating the isn't it so fun drugging and the rave dancing and Dargo's confusion at busting in on the sex den and everybody seeming totally okay, treating those pieces of the world as comedic is, I think, where this episode falls flat for me, where it misses the mark.
Even though there are ways in which I have fun with this episode, there's also serious problems, and the problem that I have more than anything is that it's much more chauvinistic than we usually get from Farscape. What I mean by that is like, this is that Chiana and Jewel are damseled, even though Chiana gets the last the last stab in, but even though it's written by a woman, which so it's less exploitative than it would usually be, it still feels very chauvinistic because it feels as if we have stumbled into this world with this really shitty situation that's really exploitative and horrible, where women are being milked and are to death for their whatever hormone thingy.
Sure, their senile gland or whatever the fuck it was.
And the concern is like our guys are concerned that their women have been stolen, even though they're and we get some. I find the Dargo sort of residual Chiago stuff interesting in that. But there is also very much a sort of we're focused on our girls. They're not trying to end the situation, which of course, it's Farscape, not Star Trek. So they're generally not. But in this, they're generally not going to overturn the whole bad situation. They're just going to rescue their people. But in this situation, it feels weird and wrong that they are only trying to rescue their people and that they're standing by while other sentient people, other women, are being sold.
Yeah. I mean, our characters are generally not lawful good. Lawful good would charge in and try to beat the bad guy. These folks are chaotic good at best, chaotic neutral most of the time, in which case they're trying to charge in and take care of their own. And I think that's a really good thing to point out, Sara. I didn't even think of it like that.
Yeah, and usually I'm okay with that because Farscape, generally they don't have the ability to save also everyone. True. They don't feel they have the moral authority to be Picard. And even then with Picard, they would only do it if it didn't violate the Prime Directive and was very paternalistic. And there's an element of paternalism here because it is like the guy's worried about the girls. In this very particular kind of way that just feels a bit. I don't love it. It's not as objectifying as it could be, but I don't love that, and I don't love that we don't really engage with it. We get a bit of, Rexel commenting on Dargo's possessiveness of Chiana when John is doing the thing where John is doing the chauvinism as a performance. And I think Rexel is the thing that keeps me from being totally, she's the thing that prevents, that allows me to enjoy this episode still, even with all the stuff, because she's fun and because there is that, sort of messing with gender thing, because even like she's kind of she's a she, but she's got a very sort of gender bendy aspect to her. Yeah. And the fact that she is trying to rescue her himbo sort of perverts the usual gender stuff. And that sort of, to me, is kind of like the yeast that allows this to rise enough to be able to just enjoy the bits that I enjoy. But there's still a lot of weird gender shit going on. some of which I like, and some of which is like yeah. And I think we needed more. I want more on the why are they feeling so possessive of the women, and more sort of challenging Dargo on his possessiveness of his ex-girlfriend. I don't know.
It would have been interesting if they'd had, rather than the boys looking for the girls, if they had like kind of one of each, and the element, because I know that a lot of it was exploring John and Dargo's relationship, but if you had one of them rescue the other from the milking room, if you had one of them rescuing the other, and then having that moment of like, you came to rescue me, and it's just like, yeah, because like we need you on the ship, like that's why I came to rescue. It's like, no, you came to rescue me because you care about me. Like if you had maybe that element of it instead would have kind of like neutralized a little bit of the weird gender stuff going on, because you would have also had one of the kind of like core female cast members who was also involved in the rescue operation. That would have been fun to see. I think it was one of those episodes that for me, it had a little bit of, and you know what? No, I'm not going to insult it by saying that it had a little too much Ryan Murphyism going on. But it did have a little
low blow.
Yeah, I can see what you mean, though.
Yeah, there were too many things. It's like you had a lot of really good elements, and if you had just kind of stuck with one or two, it would have been awesome. But instead, it was like, okay, well, we have a like drug kingpin, and it's about date rape, and also it's about like addiction, and also it's about this like it's a heist, and it's there's just too many things, and it's like these two characters trying to repair their relationship, and also Pilot needs a break, and it's like, what is happening? This is too much stuff. Like,
that's what Pilot kept saying, which I really appreciated. The Pilot of all, him being,
he was definitely
that makes no sense.
He was a very good audience self-insert there, because it's like, what?
And I think Pilot gives us sort of the last word on the episode in a sense, because when you want to understand what the story means, you look at how it's changed the world. And this one hasn't really changed anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Pilot is just like, no. We need a break. I'm just done.
Yeah. There were two things that I noticed in the episode. The first was Dargo and Harvey meet, which I really appreciated that was possible to happen by the mechanism of the shared consciousness eyeball tentacle viewscape. And then the second thing was at first I thought it was because of John's unreliable narrating and the way that he kept flashing back and forth between some things, but then Chiana started to talk about like stuff that hadn't quite happened yet, and so that was a little weird too. And so I don't quite know what to make of that yet, but knowing Farscape as I do, we met Harvey in Crackers, and it seemed like a one-off kind of a thing that it was easy to dismiss by virtue of the nature of that episode. And so I'm always on the lookout for these little details and these wacky romps as foreshadowing.
Well, yes, that's an interesting observation.
Good poker face.
Some questions will be answered and others will not be. Yeah.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, I know it's fun getting Dargo to see Harvey. Yes, that's a neat little moment.
I think combining two ideas that you're both above me in the Zoom. So both Finn and Sara said about something that might have helped this story and also about kind of the nature of what this story didn't do wrong in a lot of ways that it did other things poorly. It didn't sexually objectify Chiana and Jewel very much, but in my view, they absolutely were objects in this episode by virtue of being the damsels and by virtue of being like the goal of the episode to retrieve and stuff like that. So it was objectifying in that way. And as you two were talking, I thought it was kind of coalescing in my head. So I appreciated both y'all's perspectives.
Yeah, they were sexy lamps in this.
It's fragile. It's Italian.
What was the name? The name of the drug again?
Freslin.
Freslin?
Freslin.
Yeah, Freslin. Yeah. Something that I wish that we had was more of an explanation of what that is and how it works. Was one of the things that I kind of felt was missing because of that whole, like the objectification through in their liveliness and like their energy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Had that been explored a little bit more, I think it also would have detracted from the problematic element a little bit, because I was really curious. It's like, are you getting high on someone's essence? Like, is the high the same because of the way that the substance is made, or is it going to be kind of tailored to each person that you take it from. And like maybe he, like, how does he select his victims? How does he choose people to put in this machine to create this drug? What's the motivation there? And like, is it, is that, because obviously we kind of get that feeling when he I guess samples Chiana. I hate using that word, but like when he makes drug out of her, and he says that he's just like, oh yeah, you'll be a good product. And then we get that, and it's like, yeah, because she's so kick-ass, she's so fiery, she's so, in charge of herself in many ways. I wanted more of that. I wanted more explanation as to what was going on there. I think that would have been a really interesting thing to include.
Yeah, because we see it do various things, and we get no explanation for what. Like,
yes,
we see them getting high. We see Dargo dancing, and then we see it change Dargo's appearance, or does it change how other people see him? And it was not, because I can't imagine that something you smell actually changes your appearance.
You just haven't gotten the right Freslin. You got to get the good stuff from Luma over here.
I mean, I can see, like, it changes your pheromones, so people see you differently. That, and I love seeing Anthony Cinco in a different makeup, and everyone being into him is fun because I do think Darko's hot. But like, yeah, that's just
there's a lot.
I mean, maybe that Freslin was taken from, a shapeshifter. Maybe that, like, because if you explained it like when you do this drug, you get the high of what Jewel was feeling when she did her routine. Like if you can capture somebody, you can like, I don't even want to say like bottle their abilities, but you can bottle the sensation that they feel when they're doing XYZ, or if you were to make Freslin out of a shapeshifter, out of like some kind of being that can create illusions, it's like, well, that's how you change somebody's appearance, right? Like, and then there would just be like really interesting elements to play with there.
Yeah, I like that approach too.
It reminds me of Strange Days, and like that. If you ever seen Strange Days, it's a Ralph Fiennes and Angela Bassett film. It was from the 90s, but it's like it was cyberpunk imagining the year 2000, and they imagine that there is a thing that can record people's experiences, and then you can like you can put it on your head. There's a record and a play, so you can feel other people's experiences, and they have like, and Ralph Fiennes is like a drug dealer, but dealing people's memories. Ooh. And there's an evil dude played by the villain from The Crow, actually. and Juliette Lewis is in it too, and she's like kind of been captured by the evil dude. I don't know. It apparently I'm the only one who's seen Strange Days.
Ralph Fiennes and Angela Bassett was not an actor combo I expected to hear.
Yeah, if you can find it, highly recommend. Because Angela Bassett is always stellar. Yeah, that was just making me think of that, because like that it becomes like a drug to experience other people's experiences, and they have things like there's a whole like dark thing about getting people's experience of dying. And it's a very, very fucked up story. But anyway, yeah.
I'm gonna watch this because that's my jam. I love that kind of thing. Yeah, that like psychological. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, there's a lot of cyberpunk in the 90s, and some of it got forgotten. Yeah. So yeah, it could be really interesting if we'd had more explanation on the Freslin and what exactly they were getting high off of, and how exactly it worked. We got like discussion of it needing to be metabolized with the whole thing, but then also that didn't really affect it. That didn't really affect the heist. That they're so like, oh no, don't wear off the thing, but then it doesn't really change anything when it does. So Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's not a great episode. There are bits that are fun, and I have just learned to sort of go with it, because it is a wild ride that is somewhat enjoyable if you focus on the good bits, but also a total mess. And the thing about television writing, of course, is you're laying track while the train is running, so sometimes it does not come together. And this one, it just is kind of a glorious mess.
It is a fun mess. Like, I'll give it that. Because like my measure of what bad media is media where I'm bored, where I am bored. That's bad media.
This was not boring.
Yeah, it was not boring. I'm not gonna say it was like it wasn't a good episode, because it's like I was entertained. It never lost me. Mess is good. Mess is like, that's a good way to describe it, because it's just like, I'm not sure if I'm enjoying this, but I'm not bored. And that's something. Something.
I will take a glorious mess over boring any day.
Yep, 100%.
It was no Jeremiah Crichton, which remains the bar in this series.
Yeah, we didn't get any racism. Yay! We got some weird sexist shit, but
yeah, that was the one trope we missed, I think.
Oh boy. Yeah, because when did this show run?
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
At this point, we're, I think, into 2001.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the era that, you. Oh yeah. No, I won't get into going back and being like, oh, let's revisit this media from like this time period, and it was so great. No.
It was not. It's an era of some really good and some really bad, often in the same show.
Yep.
Because this was concurrent with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and yeah, get some amazing stuff and some oh shit. Yeah.
Some reminders about how the 90s were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the sort of trying to make things different in the 2000s, and yeah. But anyway, we have this glorious mess.
This episoded.
Yeah, and I think that the bit that I enjoyed most for is the John and Pilot stuff.
That was good interplay.
I love passive aggressive Pilot.
I'm not as familiar with this, I mean, with all of these characters really, but from the other episodes that I saw for the last time I was here, it was neat getting to see Pilot kind of lose his cool, because he is sort of that, like, in a way fatherly, almost ethereal figure who like oversees things, and seeing him just be like, I'm so fucking sick of your shit, my dude, like, was really nice. I enjoyed that.
And the final scene where the two are still continuing to bicker and can't even leave the room.
Arguing about arguing.
Okay. So I know it was a mess, but what was your favorite part in the mess? Ben, do you want to go first?
This is, oh God. My favorite part is going to sound really pretentious, but I'm going to go for it anyway. So I did like the, I'm just going to be judgy and annoying. So the moves that they did on the dance floor, the like, round off back handspring routine, and then the poi routine, those are some of the most basic movements. Like very, very, that's like entry level kind of stuff. And part of what I really loved about that, and everyone's just like, whoa, like so blown away, is because for whatever reason, those specific moves are like, people lose their shit over that stuff. And I don't know what it is. You can do something that, I won't get too circus nerd by talking about all of like the technical stuff going on.
Oh no, please do.
Oh, they're just, I love going to a show. I love going to a circus show and finding all of the other circus people in the audience. And because there will be like a really minor little technical move, like a meat hook or something, or like a back meat hook, which is this wild thing where somebody like hangs from a bar or a ring with their arm behind their back and they are in a plank position. And it doesn't look particularly interesting to the audience, but the strength and technical knowledge to do it is exponential. Like it takes so much hard work to get there. And the circus people in the audience because they're like, oh my, wow, like amazing. And it's like 5 people clapping. There's 5 people who are like, this is incredible. And then someone does a split and everyone else loses their minds.
Making difficult things look easy is the ultimate test of skill.
Yep. And what I just love that scene because it really made me think about that of like, when I take out my point, I do that's a 3-beat weave, what she's doing, that like, like, oh, the ninja move. That's a really kind of like basic, like keep the flow going transitional movement. And she starts doing it and everyone's like just so blown away. And that I really liked because it took me back. It was very fun for me. That was my favorite part of the episode.
I love that.
Thank you for letting me rant about circus.
Thank you for ranting about circus. We love that. Oh, and the reason that stuff got into the episode is because that's Tammy McIntosh, who's Jewel, is a gymnast, and Gigi Edgley is a circus. It has done circus performances and performances like that, and she was doing it on set, like in between, like just as a fun thing to do while filming and stuff. And so they're like, that is so cool. We need to put it in an episode.
That is probably exactly why they did the moves that they did, because they're like, oh, I know what people will freak out over. Like, I know. I've done this before.
And then, somebody faints while they're doing it. So that was pretty great.
Yeah, that was great.
My favorite part was actually the climax of the heist going wrong and the big shootout in the auction space. Because I really liked the soundtrack. First of all, like as I mentioned before with the list of movies, I do appreciate the buddy cop genre. The soundtrack was very Beverly Hills Cop, like it was giving Axel F throughout. And then the production design of that whole space was really great. The shootout was good action. John and Chiana always make a good team. Like that was a fun set piece to kind of sit through. So that was definitely my favorite part. What about you, Sara?
You don't know, man. It's the universe is weird, and you don't get out much.
John, get out.
That's one of my favorite line deliveries in the series. Like, the universe is weird.
He's finally just had it after 2.5 seasons. He's like, the universe, it's weird.
Like, if you're trying to describe Farscape, and I use that line delivery in my like why I love Farscape video, because if you're trying to describe Farscape, at some point you're just like, you know what? It's just really weird. Mm-hmm. The universe is weird. So, I think it's one of the most truthful moments in the series is just John losing his shit and being like, it's just fucking weird.
I'm hip to that. I like that.
So are you ready to hit for the title of the next episode?
Yes, I hope.
It is, in fact, 2 episodes. We are doing a 2-parter. Infinite Possibilities.
In infinite combinations?
Well, that would be appropriate because do you want to guess who our next guest is?
What do we got?
If all things work out well, Jesse Gender.
Yay! I have enjoyed our rotating third chair, Finn included. You've been great as well, so appreciate you spending some time with us. But looking forward to Infinite Possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Any predictions?
Brighton is going to open up his own gambling establishment. And that's going to be the slogan.
Why not?
Nailed it.
Why not? The universe is weird.
Yeah.
It's going to be my answer to everything now.
It's a good answer to everything because it's true. There is going to be a character return that we've previously seen.
Looking forward to that too.
Mm-hmm. So Finn, thank you so much for joining us for this weird mess.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us specifically for this weird mess.
As much as I'm like, here are my problems with the weird mess, I did have fun in the weird mess. Like, I walked away from it changed, not in a bad way. So there's that.
Tell your partner that we're on the same page also.
You should see some of the good episodes.
The one I watched.
No, like honestly, like
the last time I was here, I quite enjoyed the episode I watched. I did. Yeah. I thought that one was really good. It hit me on kind of like I'm a Trekkie. It hit me on the Star Trek level of like, ooh, a planet with like customs and culture and things are happening. Ooh, like, yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Good.
We'll bring you back for another good one, hopefully, if you have the space in your schedule.
Oh, absolutely.
The space.
Very good.
So, do you want to tell the folks a bit about what you do? I know you've told them you're a circus performer, but
I was a circus performer. Now I live in the woods and have joint pain. So less these days. But I still do. Yeah, right. I still do a little bit of upside downy things every now and then. But mostly when I'm not doing school things, I make YouTube videos about all kinds of stuff. I usually say I make YouTube videos about masculinity and healthy masculinity and queer issues, but I mostly just talk about things that most people would consider lefty stuff. And the only reason that I'm not saying that it's like leftist specifically is because of Sara's recent discussion of that particular labeling, which was very, very helpful and meaningful to me. And I suggest that you all go watch that. But I make content encouraging community and connection. Let's go with that.
For anyone who didn't see it, my issue is that we just say the left and we don't actually define what we mean. And this, we need to be more specific in our terms. And I think building community is a lovely, way to think about things. And I love your videos.
Thank you.
Yes. You do have such a special and important perspective.
Remind everybody the name of your channel, Finn.
Oh yes, the channel is called Swolesome, at Finntastic Mr Fox, because the official @ was taken. Whatever. My nemesis. He has no idea who I am.
Yes, everybody go follow Finn at the various places. I will put your link tree in the doobly doo.
Gosh bless.
And definitely go watch the videos. And yes. Josh, where can people find you?
I don't really have a clever riff off of this episode like I sometimes do. You know what? If you want to come find me on Instagram, we're gonna have a good time together. Mainly, I just hang out there. I like to cook, and I've been on a kind of a self-care journey of discovery for myself, and so I like to pay forward all the shit that I've learned and wish I learned much earlier in life, but it ain't too late. So Instagram at Josh Gosdin, come on over.
And that is enough, and it is important.
What about you, Sara? Where can people find you?
I am Sara Ezzat. I make the Fat Culture Critic videos. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on the haunted place that once was known as Twitter, and Blue Sky, and various places like that. And of course, you can find us for the podcast. You can find us on those places as well, and you can find us on Patreon at Muppet Sex and Trauma. And follow. And yes, all the links for all the things will be in the doobly-doo, and we will be back in 2 weeks with infinite possibilities. And looking forward to the rest of the season. We are heading into the home stretch of season 3. Do you have any predictions about what might be coming up, where season 3 might be going?
John falls in love with himself.
I'm wondering if that would be healthy or unhealthy.
There's a lot to unpack there. But if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can see my miming, all of my nonverbal stuff. And if you subscribe to our Patreon, you can see my mind getting blown by various episodes. But either way, regardless of where you found us, I'm glad that you're here.
So yes, join us again in 2 weeks. And thank you very much, Finn, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Okay, that's enough of that.
No, it's not. Do the thing. Do it.